If you want to see more and more people being able to have a better life, you should do one thing. You should throw to the bin the ideas like the ones that Nina Turner espouses, the ideas of the left, and you should say you are against the prosperity of the average person and you are not a friend of the poor. Actually, you are one of the reasons, your ideas are one of the reasons why they are poor.
In the art of fiction, Ayn Rand really said it correctly. You can read everything, like if you could know the heart of fiction from the first word to the last, that's everything, almost everything you need to write fiction. But once you sit down and write, you have to forget about everything, and you just write about your characters and your plot. Of course, you're going to be influenced by your philosophy constantly, but you can't sit down, thinking, well, I'm going to write an objectivist book. I mean, it's not going to work. Because it's going to come out so fake and strange,
And isn't that always kind of what's so powerful about Miss Rand's work, is that they're just good books, and that's why some people read them and they don't necessarily join them, but they read them and they say, "Oh yeah, that was fun. I really enjoyed that, or that was exciting."
It's important to take a moment out of our day or our year or our decade to mark a milestone if it is really a supreme value in our lives.
Exactly right.
We're not going to emotionally experience it. Take time to look your lover in the eye and say, "You have made my life so much better, and I want to do something special for you today." That's a good thing, it seems to me.
Project Warp Speed, which has a lot of merit, right? The idea was that we kind of remove some of these barriers to safety, efficacy, and then production, all of which are non-trivial for a vaccine as well as anything else. But it also meant that the companies most likely to get that vaccine into our hands, and I sure benefited from it myself, get priority over supplies. So that's where I say, and I think there's reason to believe that even though this, Project Warp Speed was well motivated, I think it was doing what needed to be done in terms of making the vaccines available faster. It still meant that for this company that was trying to heal kids with Duchenne's muscular dystrophy and other companies like them, they couldn't get the supplies because Moderna gets them first. And as devastating as the pandemic has been, I don't think these kids count any less. They're not less important to their families, to their friends, to themselves. So I think that should have been, I think it was incredibly well intentioned. And I think it should have been up to the market to say, you know what, there are some families who are going to move heaven and earth to make these therapies available to their kids before it's too late.
How much of you as an author are you thinking, gee, this thing has gone on too long, or my audience doesn't want, they're bored by this, or, how much of that are you in the seat of the audience thinking, speed it up, it's difficult to know what it's going to feel like for the audience sometimes.
Yes. Well, you can't think that way while you start writing, obviously. That's one of those things that you can't think about it. But when you edit, then you have to. When you edit your book, you have to be very, very critical of all that. You have to keep in mind that you're writing for other people to read it. You don't just write for yourself, and something can be very clear to you, to me as a doctor, but if somebody is not a doctor, a lot of people are not going to be doctors or even in the medical field who are going to read this book. And so you have to keep that in mind, because otherwise people are going to be worried about understanding. If you have to stop thinking about what does this mean? Oh, let me go back. That obviously is going to kill the thrill immediately. You can't do that.
The other thing about your central purpose, meaning your career, is that it is productive and it makes life possible. It sustains your life and it causes you to have self-esteem. And the difference between that and romance is more of an effect. You earn somebody's love, you earn their respect, you earn their affection, whereas productive purpose is actually taking action to go forward, romance, love, is the reward for that, for having created your character, the kind of person you are, the kind of person somebody will fall in love with. And it's another reason why not only is it a category error, but there's no contradiction between the two. As you
Right.
create your own personality, including your ambitions, that is when you find love, and it can be enduring because it has grounding, it has reason. There are reasons people are in love with you. So again, it's not an either or, and I certainly hope most of us don't find ourselves in an either or situation where the only way we can pursue our career is to mute our romances.
I do think what you get is so much of her personality. That's
Yes.
to me what the letters reveal, is her
Right.
spirit, her soul, her sense of life is all through it. So it's not like, oh, I would say read it, you'll learn more about the philosophy. You'll learn more about how she lived the philosophy.